hi there. I'm Justin and this is Wolfgang. I'm here to give you a little walkthrough. I think Wolfgang, like most vehicles, drives with a steering wheel, brake, accelerator, just like everything else. One thing you'll be interested to find is the diesel enters right here off the side of the door. This can be a little bit hard to find if you don't know what you're looking for. You'll also notice there's a tire pressure gauge in the door. If you think there's any problems, you can simply test the tire pressure. Inside the van, you will find your standard compartment for your breakers and circuits in there. This, while looking like a stick shift, is really an automatic. Pretty simple stuff when it's all said and done. When you start the vehicle, there is a check engine level that starts here. On the steering wheel, you will see the menu buttons here. If I were to push this button down, it will phase you through the various assignments on the vehicle. So we start you with the odometer reading when we get going. This stereo, this wonderful German engineering, I wouldn't even begin to try and work out. The confusing run through of the non-touch screen is almost impossible to figure out, but we've left an aux cable along with the little iPhone connection here for you. And if you have a USB cable for your charger that you would like to connect to the stereo, up in front of the steering wheel is where that connects. If you're super analog and you have an old map, there's a map holder here. That's wonderful. And what thing you'll find under the passenger seat here, if should you have a flat tire scenario and you need to change tires out, the tools for that are found underneath the passenger person's feet. And underneath the driver's side seat, you will see the battery compartment. So when the vehicle is started, you will get your little rear view camera that turns on. If for whatever reason you turn it on to a no signal screen, it's this AVI button. You can push that a few times till it cycles back through to the backup camera, which can also be turned off while driving. Coming around to the other side of the vehicle, animals not included or allowed. If you're willing to try and figure this out, if you're stationary for a while, this seat can be turned around. There are two levers under here, one that slides the seat forward and backwards, and one that very difficultly will allow you to wrestle this seat into position, turning around to accompany the back seat. Okay, so the main cabin of Wolfgang has a number of features. We'll start as we enter here. Hidden behind door number 1 is our camp toilet. You'll notice a latch down here that keeps this from rolling out while not in use. I recommend hand on each thing as we pull this thing out. Usual toilet seat. There is a flusher here that I don't have in place at the moment, but you push the button on the top of that and it will spray water around the rim and rinsing the tub. This is your flusher. I do recommend having the top closed the first time you vent that because pressure can build up in the holding chamber of this. You'll want to pay particular attention when you close this because this is a really tight squeeze and can catch this and want to open the handle, so you want to make sure that that's all the way in as you close it. You'll find your toilet paper dispenser in the side of it here. When you're closing this, you'll want to use both hands, making sure that the lid, the latch is up and you can close it all the way back down. I don't think that it's super required to close that. Also found in this compartment is our induction cook stove along with the wok. This all fits in there fairly snugly, but the reason we keep it in here is because when the bed is made, this induction cook stove would be blocked in by the cabinetry inside. This is a nice little operation to keep it over here because, say, your partner, if they're still sleeping, can stay in the bed while coffee is being heated or otherwise. You just get the induction cook stove, plug it in. The interesting thing about this cook stove and my inverter here, this hanging down here will turn the inverter on and off. You'll notice a green light comes on here. It's kind of light right now, you can't see it. And if we look down at the induction cook surface top, we can power button on and then use the function button here to set. We're reading 1200 watts. That's what I usually leave it at. It's showing an error code there because there's no steel cookware on top of it. When you put your wok on top of that, you'll see it starts hooking up. The coffee bin here, all of our coffee hot water heater and whatnot is found inside our coffee marker there, and that pot will also work. So you can use all the coffee supplies in here. We have a French press and an AeroPress, along with a coffee grinder and some coffee in there, creamer and sugar. We keep this 1 gallon water jug with us wherever we go. Should you want to top off water at any restaurant or gas station or whatnot, you can bring a gallon at a time. And here, inside of here, you'll see our freshwater holding tank. One option for you to do is, fill as you go with a gallon. You get filling a gallon and pouring it into there, topping off a gallon at a time. Of course, if you have access to a hose, we have a quick release hose on here that will connect back here to this water filler here. You have kill valves on both. Generally speaking, in alignment with the hose is on, and turned perpendicular is off on both of those hoses. This is a clean water hose, so please only use it for freshwater fillings. We keep spare toilet paper and paper towels down here. This is a gray water tank here. It's only 3 gallons deep, so as you use water from the tank here, which this is a pump action tank, so you just use the handle to pump as much water in as you need. That's all fresh water. There's some cleaning supplies, Ziploc bags, some aluminum foil down here, and some cleaning materials under the sink. There is general storage over here. Again, we have some more soaps and cleaning materials, napkins, towels, and some extra cookware down there. And in this last cupboard, we have more plates and dishes and cookware and skillet and that sort of thing down here, cutting board. Across the top, we have storage. We have pre-marked cabinets for coffee. This is on and off for the inverter. You do want to make sure that when you're done cooking or using the outlets that you turn the inverter off, because the inverter is always drawing a little bit of energy from the batteries, and you want to maintain as much of that as possible. Breakfast has some snacks in it. There's pancake stuff in there you're welcome to use. Plates, bowls, silverware, oil, spices, and an extra storage bin. All of the bins on this side are free for your use. They're all open right now. We've taken our stuff out and left those open for your organization. Futon bed. Nice for sitting in while you're up during the day. But this futon bed also slides out across, consuming the rest of the space. What you'll want to know here is that this is like an old lawn chair. You pull it forward and it lies down flat. Pro tip that I have here is this little extra space here. This little platform helps this extra foam reach all the way to the wall for your comfort. You get a full queen size bed that way. When you're ready to finish up, I always recommend pulling the blankets up as much as you can before you You don't pull this back into a couch, but it just pulls back up and slides back against the wall. I tuck this down under the bed as best possible as I pull it up there. And that's as easy as that to go from couch to bed. I think we haven't covered the vents here. There is a turn handle down here that does lock in place. If you push it up, it won't turn. You have to pull it down a little bit, and you can twist it to open it. You can see it opening and closing. And then there's an on-off button. If you turn the fan on, and the reverse motion is all there. If you leave the windows cracked just a little bit in the front, and this thing cooling, this van will stay nice and cool, or the minimum the outside temperature. It pulls through nicely. There is spray foam insulation all the way around the van that keeps it nice and comfortable temperature on the inside. There are a number of light options. There's a switch under the cabinet here, is your easiest, quickest lights to find. And then there is main cabin lights, which does the main cabins. And those have a slider brightness adjuster. So you just slide your finger up and down there to adjust the brightness, on and off. And then we have colored lights along the trim, which is again a slider with a wheel, which color you want. Also left and right on the slider for brightness. So that's nice for mood lighting. If it's too dark in here and you just want a light night light, you can use that. In the basket, we have some accessories, a little Bluetooth speaker, Bose Mini. That can be plugged through the inverter. I recommend doing that when driving so that your battery stays topped off. It doesn't take a lot, but just the sense it's there. I think that more or less covers it. I'll show you the electrical system here a little bit. We do keep this pad here, which is like a fold-out mini bed. Once you've opened up your camping area, if you want to use this to lie outdoors, it's a super comfortable mat. I just ask that you don't lay it on the dead ground. You put a mat down or your towel down or something. Underneath it, we have the heater. The middle button will turn on from stopped to enabled. It's set to 21 degrees Celsius right now, but you can adjust that up and down to your liking, and that will automatically kick on. The heater itself blows hot air from underneath the passenger seat. I generally keep that aimed at the floor, because if you warm the floor up, it'll radiate up from there. The secondary gauge here is the battery compartment, the auxiliary power. There are 2 lithium-ion batteries. This should stay around where it is here at 13, a little under a half. If it gets down to 12, say, and 3/4, 1275, you're starting to run out of battery, and you should let the solar charger revamp everything. There is underneath here the entire electrical system, batteries, fuses, maybe a good place to check if some of the lights aren't working, and of course the inverter's under here. It'll make a long beep if it's run out of power and wants to shut down. There is also a battery charger down here you can hook up onto these batteries should you run low and have access to shore power. There's also a set of jumper cables under there should you ever need them. Other than that, this is a solar controller here that is using the solar panels on the top of the van to keep everything topped off. For comfort levels, when you're parked, this front window gauge, if you put that in the front window and don't let the sunshine in, will significantly help with. Okay, so when you first get to camp, I keep things of comfort for your camping set up back in what I call the garage. I have this nice screwdriver plugged in here to keep this from sliding in and out, but we can pull out the garage here and find that I have an outdoor cook stove, a couple of water buckets for putting out fires or rinsing dishes or doing general outdoor camping activities, another spare single burner should you like to cook. Don't use these inside. The van is very well sealed and you will quickly burn out the oxygen if you're trying to cook inside. But we store them in here. Here is a little mat you can lie down in front of your van, you know, outside the entrance so your feet aren't coming and going with dirt the entire time. This toolbox here is loaded with some things that might help. This is a tool bag. I have tape. If you're going to use the awning, there are some stakes for the awning. Speaking of the awning, I store right on top of the wheel well here the retractable awning grid. This is super easy to use. I do recommend having the door of the van closed while releasing this. You simply hook on up here and you unfurl the awning. I like to take it to the point where I can reach the legs of the awning. And if you come around this side and zoom in right here for me, you can see that this slides out, and that's important that that part is sliding out and then down. You can release the legs to the ground and give it a little support here on one side and then the other. Again, you release that, let the leg down to the ground, tighten it back up, and from here I think we're in better shape to open the awning the rest of the way, because the awning is now being supported by the weight of the legs. You just go out until it's all the way there, and you can set the legs up at the height that is comfortable for you and for the sun. This awning is not meant to be used in the rain. It is for sun. If it's going to rain, it needs to be put away before. You don't want to store this wet, or it'll get covered with mildew and you'll come back to a dissatisfied host. So the opposite is true for winding this thing down. It just unfurls in the opposite direction. I'll leave the legs up while I wind it back in. Where did I go? Oh, opposite. Oh God, nothing's happening. Why is nothing happening? Oh, because I'm going the wrong way. So then we get it in, part way in, and I can retract this down. I would say that you'll want to, if there's any wind at all, you'll want to put a stake in the ground to hold these down. You don't want this thing blowing all around in the wind and getting torn off the van. That will get expensive for you. Retract. Can't figure out my lefty-loosies and righty-tighties. But that all stores back up, and then you continue the furling. What I have noticed is the end. When I get to the end of this, I like to have this pole right underneath the ledge of it, so it kind of holds this end up as it snugs in toward the final assembly. That comes back off and you're done. That's super easy. Cheers. And again, I store this right underneath the wheel well, nice and out of the way. We also have 2 chairs down here for your use. These are pretty straightforward. They come out, pop open, everything goes into place. Set the chairs in there, they're nice and comfortable. All of that camping gear is stored here in the back. Nighttime charging, there's an on switch. You'll know it's on because the light comes in. We leave both a USB 2 and an iPhone cable in here ready for your operation at night.